everyone, and welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into YZJ Shipbuilding, or YZJ as they're known in the markets.
A popular one, up 65% since the start of the year. Hard to ignore those gains, right?
Absolutely. 65% is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to unpack, analyst reports, even a forum post caught our eye, someone pretty happy with their YZJ holdings. But we're here to dig deeper. What's the story behind these gains? Is this hype? Or is YZJ the real deal? Ready to dive in?
Let's set sail.
All right, so YZJ, for anyone who's not familiar, a shipbuilding company, right? But there's more to it.
Oh yeah, much more. It's actually quite fascinating. Founded way back in 1956 in China. And here's the kicker. They're one of the largest non-state-owned shipbuilders in the country, which is pretty unique given how things usually work over there.
So they're like the independent spirit of Chinese shipbuilding.
Exactly. They've charted their own course. And it gets even more interesting. They're listed on the Singapore Exchange since 2007. So why Singapore and not a Chinese exchange?
Good question. Maybe they were aiming for that international flair.
It's possible. Something to consider as we dig deeper. But just to give you the full picture, they've got 4 shipyards in China, Jiangsu province, to be precise. And they're churning out all sorts of ships. Container ships, those massive cargo carriers, bulk carriers, the workhorses of the sea.
Hauling all that raw material around the globe.
Exactly.
But, and this is where things get particularly interesting for me, YZJ has recently jumped into the LNG game, those liquefied natural gas carriers, and that market is booming, am I right?
Oh, you are so right. It's absolutely exploding. Demand for LNG carriers is through the roof. Everyone wants a piece of that cleaner energy pie, and LNG is playing a key role in that transition.
And YZJ saw this coming.
It seems so. They've positioned themselves strategically to ride this wave. Smart move, if you ask me.
So we've got a Chinese shipbuilder listed in Singapore tapping into this red-hot LNG market. Sounds like a recipe for profit.
It certainly has the ingredients. And let's not forget, their stock price seems to agree. 65% jump year to date. And even on that investor forum you mentioned, someone going by Coolgall seems pretty thrilled with their YZJ holdings. Dividends since 2021, they said.
Coolgall might be onto something. But we're not jumping to conclusions just yet. 65% is fantastic, but we got to ask, what's driving it? Can YZJ keep this momentum going? Well, you brought up their LNG ventures. That's got to be a big part of this, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's all about timing, and YZJ seems to have nailed it. Think about it. The world's craving energy, but also trying to go green. LNG is kind of that bridge fuel, right? Cleaner than traditional fossil fuels, at least until renewables really take over. So the demand for these specialized carriers is skyrocketing, and YZJ is right there, ready to build them.
They saw the writing on the wall, so to speak.
Precisely. They have positioned themselves as leaders in this growth market, and that's smart business.
But lots of companies try to ride the wave of a booming industry. What makes YZJ different? What sets them apart?
Several factors, actually. One of their biggest strengths is cost competitiveness. Believe it or not, they can build ships for about 5% less than their rivals.
5%? Does that even make a difference when we're talking about these massive multi-million-dollar vessels?
Oh, it adds up. We're talking billions of dollars in contracts. That 5% translates into some serious profit margins.
So they're undercutting the competition, but how? What's their secret?
Efficiency, from what I've gathered. Streamlined operations, optimized shipyards. They've really got that lean manufacturing thing down pat, just on a massive scale.
Like shipbuilding ninjas. So they're efficient, they're tapping into a hot market, and they're building green vessels. Is that legit or just marketing hype?
Oh, it's more than just greenwashing. The shipping industry has a huge carbon footprint, that's no secret. But these green vessels, they're designed with sustainability in mind. Alternative fuels, like LNG, fuel-efficient designs, technologies to minimize emissions.
So they're not just riding the LNG wave, they're building the ships that use it. Clever. And speaking of building, their order book is looking pretty impressive. Full through 2026, potentially worth over $20 billion. Those are some serious numbers.
It shows the confidence their clients have, right? And it's not just the quantity, it's the quality of those contracts.
Yeah.
High-value projects, favorable margins. They're firing on all cylinders. Even analysts are impressed. Projections show a possible 26% growth rate.
Yeah.
YZJ isn't just keeping up, they're leaving the competition in their dust.
Okay, it's getting harder and harder not to jump on this bandwagon. But you know what they say, if it seems too good to be true, there's always a catch.
Yeah. It's always wise to be a little cautious. Every investment has risks. And in YZJ's case, one thing that popped up in those sources was currency fluctuation.
Ah, yes, the good old currency roller coaster. How does that affect YZJ?
So they deal mostly in U.S. dollars for those shipbuilding contracts. but they're lifted on the Singapore exchange. So any big swings between the US dollar and the Singapore dollar, that can impact their bottom line when they report earnings.
It's like they're building these giant ships while riding a financial seesaw. So how do they handle that?
Well, they've got a pretty good track record of managing financial risks. They use various strategies, including something called hedging.
Hedging. Sounds complicated, but effective, I hope.
It is a bit complex, but think of it as an insurance policy against those currency swings. It helps protect their profits, even if the US dollar takes a dip.
Okay, so they're not just rolling the dice on currency exchange rates. That's good to know. But what about raw materials? Steel, specifically. Shipbuilding needs a lot of steel, and those prices can be all over the place. How big of a risk is that for YZJ?
Right? Can't forget about steel. What happens if those prices suddenly shoot up? That's got to impact their bottom line.
Definitely something to consider. Steel prices can be unpredictable, and any shipbuilder is going to feel the effects of those swings.
So how do they deal with that?
Well, they've navigated it before. YZJ has a history of weathering these steel price fluctuations. Experience helps. Plus, their contracts often take those potential cost changes into account. It's built in to some extent.
So they've got some wiggle room, some strategies to handle it.
Yeah.
But still, with both currency and steel prices as potential risks, how worried should investors really be? That's where you, as an investor, have to weigh those risks against the potential reward.
Right, it's all about balance.
Exactly. You've got their strategic positioning in a booming market, their cost advantages, that efficiency we talked about, and their commitment to sustainable shipbuilding. That's resonating with clients, it's clear. So you have to look at their track record. Have they managed these risks effectively in the past? The data seems to suggest they have.
Past performance isn't everything, but it's definitely something to consider.
Absolutely. You got to connect those dots, look at the trends, and decide for yourself, how comfortable am I with this level of risk?
Because there's no such thing as a risk-free investment, especially in a volatile sector like shipbuilding. So, big picture. We've seen YZJ's impressive growth, their strategic moves, even highlighted some potential storms on the horizon. What's the verdict? Is YZJ a ship worth boarding, in your opinion?
Well, I can't give financial advice, but
Yeah.
YZJ has a lot going for it. They're in a sector with massive growth potential, their financials look solid, and they're ahead of the curve on sustainability. And let's not forget those dividends. Cool Gull seems pretty happy with those. Passive income while you hold the stock, can't beat that. But those external factors, currency, steel, they're still factors. You got to do your own research, your own due diligence, and decide, does this align with my investment goals, my risk tolerance?
Love that you emphasize personal due diligence. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, especially with a company like YZJ. They've got a good story. But taking the time to really understand the risks, see if it fits with your overall financial plan, that's crucial.
Absolutely. Informed decisions are the best kind of decisions.
Couldn't agree more. Well, this deep dive into YZJ Shipbuilding has given us, and hopefully all of you listening, a lot to think about. Maybe YZJ will end up in your portfolio, maybe not. But maybe this has sparked your curiosity about other opportunities in the shipbuilding world.
Speaking of exploring further, here's a thought. We've seen how YZJ is capitalizing on the LNG boom, but that's just one aspect of green shipping. What other innovations are out there? Who else is making waves in sustainable shipbuilding? Something to ponder as you continue your own research.
Now that's a question worth exploring. The world of investing is full of fascinating stories and opportunities. Who knows, maybe this deep dive has set you on course to discover your next big investment. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.